Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Charles, and you're watching Save Our Children TV. Back at it for a brand new video. Before I get started, please make sure you like, comment, subscribe, turn post notification bells on so you'll be notified every single time I drop a brand new video on this channel. But before I get started, make sure you hit that cash at money sign capital CPA 106, and also make sure to subscribe, share my other videos on my Crime Time channel and my other channel outlining our communities, so you'll be notified when I drop a brand new video. I have 10 stories for you guys today, but I am going to um, give you a bonus story before I get started with the 10 stories. And it's just dropped, and this happened over the weekend in Michigan. So Michigan takes an L. And this happened at a family festival. Multiple people, I repeat myself again, multiple people are arrested at a family festival. This happened in Grand Blanc, Michigan. So Michigan takes an L. Multiple people were arrested after a series of incidents at the Family Fun Fest in Grand Blanche over the weekend. At 5:30 p.m. on Saturday, June 17th, a festival patron told officers from the Grand Blanc City Police Department, who were assigned to festival patrol, they saw a gun in the waistband of another person at the festival. Grand Blanc Police Lieutenant Brian Barsky said the patron then pointed out the person to officers. Officers approached him in an effort to not cause panic, quietly asked if he had a gun, Barsky said. He was evasive to the officers' questions, so they began to pare him down. The officers found and took possession of the gun. Borowski said, adding, the person began to resist the officers. As the officers tried to arrest him, the minors who accompanied him interfered and assaulted the officers during the arrest. Borowski said, adding, the minors were taken into custody. According to Borowski, this was the only incident where there were any evidence a gun was being shown or someone had first-hand knowledge someone had a gun. Later that evening, as the festival was closing, several other small fights broke out, according to Borowski, who said this caused a chaotic scene as some people were running to watch the fight and others were trying to get away from it. Many of those people went to area businesses after the festival closed. Borowski said since the majority of those people were minors from outside the Grand Blanc community, they were in the area waiting to get a ride home. In order to prevent a similar chaotic scene happening at the businesses, officers asked those businesses to clear out and lock the doors until these people left, according to Borowski. The Family Fun Fest is a community event which provided 4 days of enjoyment for families. Unfortunately, a small group of individuals tarnished a few hours of that with their behavior, causing fear of those who were there to just enjoy the event. Borowski said the City of Grand Blanc Police Department will continue to work with the Grand Blanc Chamber of Commerce and community supporters to provide a safe and fun environment for families to come together and celebrate summer. Here's the news video. For use.
Discover the benefits of shopping local with members of the Independent Business Association of Saginaw County. When you support local businesses like these, you get professional advice and exceptional customer service. It can only be found when you invest.
Thank you, Chris. News 6. Multiple arrests at the fair in Grand Blanc. On Saturday night at the Family Fun Fest, a patron told Grand Blanc police they saw a gun in someone's waistband and they pointed that person out. Police say they quietly asked him if he had a gun to avoid causing panic, but he was evasive, so they began to pat him down and found the gun. But then police say he began to resist, and as they tried to arrest him, Minors who were with him assaulted police.
Well, later that evening, several small fights broke out, and police say it caused chaos as some people were running to watch the fight and others were trying to get away from it. Many of those people went to a nearby business after the festival closed. Police say the majority of them were minors from outside Grand Blanc waiting to get a ride home. But in order to prevent fights happening at the businesses, officers asked them to clear out and lock the doors until those people left.
The Grand Blanc Police Department says it was unfortunate a small group of people tarnished a few hours of the Family Fun Fest, causing fear for those who were there to enjoy it. The department says it plans to meet with the Chamber of Commerce and others in the community to provide a safe environment.
Okay, my closing thoughts about this particular story is that I think it's sad that we can't even enjoy ourselves for the summer or at all when it comes to fun things for the children, because you have adults ruining everything for the children. And so this man should have set a better example for not just himself, but for the minors that was with him and for everyone who was at that park. He should have set a better example of himself. He made himself look like a fool, and he caused people to panic, and he also caused minors to be arrested defending him. And so I think that he failed these children. And so you got to ask yourself too, you know, people should be able to go to these events without any incidents. And when fights breaking out at these events and people are getting hurt and people are being arrested, it makes the fun go away. And you ruined it for so many people. And I think it's sad. And I think that more needs to be done with these events, and security measures need to be put in place, such as metal detectors, such as searches, because you do not know who is carrying what in these parks. Whether it's a theme park, a carnival, a festival, a fair, you just don't know. So you always want to be safe and sorry. So I think there should be a some type of safety measure put in place. And in my opinion, the park or this festival event failed that measure. They failed. They failed because they should have had higher security and higher, you know what I'm saying, something to search these people. A metal detector or something that could have caught that gun. Because what if that was what if that was a shooter that was out to shoot people? You see what I'm saying? Got right in easy with that gun. We gotta do a better job when it comes to walking in the theme parks or fairs or carnivals or just any festival or place with weapons. We gotta do better. Come down below and touch about this particular story. Now, speaking of shooting, it is time to talk about our first story, and that is the Juneteenth mass shootings. And I'm not surprised because every time there is a Juneteenth, there always a shooting. In fact, they had one out here in Buffalo right after the festival, Juneteenth festival. Someone decided to shoot. You know, I don't understand why we are shooting at a Juneteenth festival. And of course, this happened in Illinois, and one person is killed, and 22 others are hurt in a mass shooting at a Juneteenth celebration. And it happened in Chicago. So Chicago is going to take an L, and I'm on articles. I'm on the CNN article. Investigators are searching for suspects after a mass shooting Sunday at a Juneteenth celebration left one person dead and at least 22 others injured in suburban Chicago. Gunfire broke out after midnight in a parking lot in Willowbrook, Illinois, as an unknown number of suspects fired multiple rounds from multiple weapons into the crowd. The DuPage County Sheriff's Office said in a news release no suspects were in custody Sunday afternoon, with information very fluid as investigators interviewed victims and reviewed cell phone and surveillance video, the agency said. At least 12 ambulances rushed to the scene, hurrying, hurrying people to hospitals with injuries ranging from graze wounds to serious gunshot wounds. Joe Ostrander, battalion chief of the Tri-State Fire Protection District, said early Sunday some were hurt trying to flee, authorities said. The Juneteenth event is the latest celebration in the U.S. to be interrupted by gunfire after mass shootings in just last month at a graduation ceremony in Virginia, an NBA championship celebration in Colorado, and a birthday party in California. Also this weekend, a juvenile was killed and 9 others injured at a party in downtown St. Louis, while 2 people were killed and others wounded in a mass shooting near Electronic Dance Music Festival at Washington's George Amphitheater. More than 310 mass shootings with at least 4 people are shot, excluding the shooter, have been recorded in the U.S. so far this year. The Gun Violence Archive reports that more mass shootings than days so far in 2023. A shooting that injured 2 juveniles at a Juneteenth festival in Asheville, North Carolina on Friday evening prompted organizers to cancel the festival's remaining events. We are saddened that a day of celebration and community unity was darkened by a cloud of violence, the event's organizers posted on the Facebook page. The shooting happened shortly before the festival was scheduled to end for the day. The Asheville Police Department said responding officers found 2 juveniles who had been shot. One has since been released, and one remains in critical but stable condition, according to a Facebook post by the police department. Officers arrested a 16-year-old suspect, the post said. In a Willowbrook incident, authorities had not released suspect descriptions, and it's unclear how many people opened fire. The slain person has been identified, and authorities have released no information on the others' ages and conditions. Illinois' governor is closely monitoring the shooting, he said. Gathering for a holiday celebration should be a joyful occasion, not a time where gunfire erupts and families are forced to run for safety. J.B. Pridgeot said Sunday in a statement, as I've said time and time again, gun violence is a public health emergency in this country, and I remain committed to banning these dangerous weapons and making our state safer for everyone. The White House has been in contact with state and local leaders following the daily shooting. Press Secretary Karine Pierre said, the President and First Lady are thinking of those killed and injured in the shooting in Illinois last night. She tweeted Sunday, we have reached out to offer assistance to state and local leaders in the wake of this tragedy at a community Juneteenth celebration. The violence flared less than 40 miles from last summer's mass shooting at a 4th of July parade in Highland Park that left 7 dead and dozens injured and led Pritzker, a Democrat, to sign a ban on assault-style rifle on high-capacity magazines in the state. We dropped down until they stopped. The Juneteenth celebration began around 6 p.m. Saturday around Hinsdale Lake Terrace at Honeysuckle Lane, and police were ready in the area, the sheriff's department said. At around 12:25 a.m., police were called away due to a 911 call alleging a fight had broken out nearby. The DuPage County Sheriff's Office sent a news release. As deputies responded, they heard gunshots and immediately returned to the scene of the gathering. It is not clear what led the gunfire, where the shooters were when deputies responded, or rather the suspects knew any of the victims. The motive behind the incident is unclear and is still an active investigation. DuPage County Deputy Sheriff Eric Swanson told reporters Sunday. As gunshots rang out, terror unfolded. Witnesses recalled Makisha Avery dropped to the ground, she said. We dropped down until they stopped. They just kept going. Avery told reporters at the scene. Okay, number one. The meaning of Juneteenth is to honor us who were basically to Juneteenth is to honor us and to honor our freedom. Because back then, slavery was a rough thing that people went through back then. And so it honors our strength and ability into the people who we are today. And the sad part is that every time there's a Juneteenth, there's a shooting, and someone is either killed or injured. And Juneteenth is a holiday, federal holiday. And the sad part, it should be a day of joy, a day of remembrance, a day of honor, a day of happiness, a day of celebration, a day of commitment, a day of so many good and positive things. And so now, because of the gun violence, they are going to start stepping up security, and they'll also have police at these events. I guarantee you next year, 2024, Juneteenth, there's going to be high security between state police, federal police, security. They're going to be at these events and they're going to be monitoring these events. And I think it's sad because now we can't even be happy, and because we have people who chose to ruin such a great thing for so many people. Now our gatherings are going to have to be monitored because of people who are so evil and wicked, who will ruin such a great time and event. And I think it's sad. And I think that more needs to be done within our communities. And that's why I started this channel, to give innocent children a voice, to give people in general a voice, and to focus on what is really going on in our community and what we need to start fixing and looking at ourselves, and how can we better ourselves, how can we fix ourselves psychologically. So with that being said, leave a comment down below what you think about this story, and tell me what you think, what needs to happen at the Juneteenth celebrations from now on. Let's move on. This next story is a crazy and sad story, and I need everyone to put their listeners on, because it can happen to you. It can happen to your family. It can happen to someone you love. It can happen to someone you know. It can happen to anybody. But Minnesota is going to take an L. This happened This happened a day ago, so this happened yesterday in Minneapolis, Minnesota. 5 people, and I'll repeat this again, 5 people are dead after being hit by a speeding driver in Minneapolis. After, I believe they were either I believe they were leaving from a wedding. So, 5 people were killed when a driver ran a red light and slammed into the vehicle in Minneapolis after a state trooper spotted him speeding, authorities say. The driver was on Interstate 35 when the trooper first encountered him around 10 p.m. Friday. Minneapolis police said in a statement the driver exited the highway before the trooper could initiate a traffic stop and crashed into another vehicle with 4 women and a girl inside. Police said all 5 were pronounced dead at the scene. Police said the motorist then ran from the crash scene. Officers searched the area before taking a suspect into custody. He was taken to a hospital to be evaluated. Police haven't released his name or the names of the victims. A homicide team is investigating. So here's a news video. They have identified those involved.
More about the 5 young women killed in a tragic car crash in Minneapolis. Community leaders say each one was a leader, daughter, and friend. As WCCO's Adam Duxter reports, faith and city leaders say this is an absolutely senseless tragedy.
These were individuals who had a bright future. We're talking about the pearls. We're talking about the bright stars of our community.
Khalid Omar, Mas Director at Dal Al Farouk Center in Bloomington, says tonight an entire community is grieving.
We have never seen a tragedy of 5 young individuals who passed away at the scene at an incident like this. We have never seen something like that before.
Traffic cameras show a car speeding off 35W in Lake Street last night before slamming into the car full of 5 young women between the ages of 17 and 20. In the car, Sabrina Ali, a recent high school graduate from Medina, Sahra Jisadi, a 20-year-old junior at Minnesota Rochester, Salma Abdi Kadir, a sophomore at Normandale Community College and Sunday school teacher, Sigal Hersi, a student at MCTC, and Saham Adam, a student at the U of M. Omar says the 5 were inseparable and were out together Friday night preparing for a friend's wedding slated for Saturday.
Losing anyone it's a tragedy, but losing 5 young people at the same time is something that it's very hard to process.
A small memorial grew at the scene Saturday morning. City Council member Jamal Osman frustrated and hurt that the driver of the other car tried to run before being arrested.
This kind of reckless behavior from an individual who survived, taking 5 girls ahead of their future away. We want justice for these girls.
Adam Duxter, WCCO News.
Police have yet to name the person responsible, but say they
So here are the victims' names. Sabrina Ali, who was a recent high school graduate from Medina, South Rogers, Arizona. She was uh, 20 years old, Janelle at Minnesota Rochester, Summer Abatancourt, a Sunday school teacher, Siegel Hersey, a student and a student at the another student. So I believe the ages were two 20-year-olds, two 18-year-olds, and I believe a teacher. You know, when you choose the consequence, you chose your decision. And when you chose to speed away from the police officer and drive reckless and hit a vehicle filled with young women and you kill everyone in that vehicle, your intentions were to cause damage. And so, in my opinion, this is premeditated murder. Now, some people could look at it as vehicular homicide, but I think, in my opinion, this should be upgraded. Because when you intentionally speed from the police and hit a vehicle head on, it was intentional. Because you could have stopped, you could have got out the car, turned yourself in, gone to jail, did your time, and got back out. You broke the law, and you put people's lives in danger, and you killed five innocent people. Five. So if they decide to charge you with vehicular homicide, that's times five, which means you will never walk out of prison again because they can give you the max on each count, which would be 24 years or about 15 years each. So you're looking at life. And people in general got to make better decisions when you're involved with the police. When you want to speed away from the police, I see it all the time in the news. People are speeding from the police, driving reckless in neighborhoods like there's not children outside playing, and you want to run from the police. Well, you're putting the public life in danger. You're putting your community in danger. And when something bad happens, you're going to be held accountable. You're going to be held responsible. And you're going to be liable for anything that happens to those you hurt or those you injure. So you got to make better decisions. Running from the police is a horrible decision. You're still going to get caught and you still going to do that time. Let's make better decisions. Let's keep these five children thoughts and prayers. And let's remember these five individuals for who they were. They were good people and was killed, murdered by a reckless driver. We're gonna move on. Cattaraugus County, outside of New York State, is going to take a L. 3 people died in a Cattaraugus County head-on collision involving a brother and sister. 2 passengers in the Ford Focus that was struck, ages 17 and 6, were declared dead at the scene. The driver of that car has since died at ECMC, state police said. 3 people have died following a head-on collision that happened Saturday afternoon in Cattaraugus County that involved siblings. New York State police troopers and Mecca's were called to the scene at 12:05 p.m. Saturday. A man was driving a 2006 Dodge Ram West on Freedom Road when it crossed the center line and struck an eastbound 2005 Ford Focus, which was driven by his sister, according to state police. The Dodge purposely entered into the oncoming lane and lost control before the collision, state police said. State police late Sunday night said the driver of the Ford Focus, 24-year-old Delia J. Klink of Freedom, died at Erie County Medical Center. 2 passengers in the Ford Focus were declared dead at the scene. 17-year-old Havana S. Lopez of Java and 6-year-old Molly Kibler of Freedom. A 4-year-old passenger in the Ford Focus sustained serious injuries and was taken by Mercy Flight to a hospital for further treatment. The person who drove the Dodge Ram was Delilah Klink's brother, 21-year-old Evan R. Klink of Freedom. He was treated for minor injuries at the scene and was eventually taken to a state police station in Warsaw for an evaluation. The passenger in the Dodge, 19-year-old Cameron Klink of Freedom, sustained serious injuries and was taken by Mercy Flight to a hospital. Police confirmed there was also a vehicle following the pickup which was not involved in the crash. A person in that vehicle who witnessed the crash and provided a statement is said by police to be the father of 6-year-old Molly Kibler and may be connected to Delilah Klink and the unidentified 4-year-old girl. State police said the passenger and the other vehicle in the collision were either all family members or a family friend. The New York State Police Collision Reconstruction Unit, the Bureau of Criminal Investigation, and the Arcade Fire Department assisted at the scene on Saturday. Investigators will check evidence from the truck and road markings as they try to determine exactly what happened. Trooper James O'Callaghan said blood drawn at the hospital from Evan Klink was ordered by the Cattaraugus County District Attorney's Office to be held as potential evidence for screening. State police said state police and the DA's office are working together to decide if any charges will actually be filed in this crash. O'Callaghan added that Evan Klink was operating the Dodge pickup on a learner's permit, and since his brother does not have a license either, police say Evan should not have been driving without a license. Driver accompanying him in the vehicle. The crash remains under investigation, state police said. Okay. This story sounds particularly familiar to another story out of New York City where there were teens in a vehicle. I actually talked about this story on this channel. They crashed into a tree. A teen was driving without a permit, and multiple people were killed. Just as another story I was talking about, go check that out. A driver crashed into a minibus, a school bus. He had no permit or license, drove and crashed. We got to start holding adults accountable, parents who allow their children to drive without any credential. You allow them to drive without a permit and a license. What do you think is going to happen? Common sense is why you got to take a test before getting your permit and license. And then before that, Once you get it, you have to take a road test to determine if you're fit enough to drive a vehicle. And so I think we got to be more hard on ourselves as parents, and we got to understand right from wrong. And when we allow bad behavior, there's bad consequences. And so the family didn't just lose family members, but they could potentially lose the kid who caused the crash. He could be arrested for this head-on crash. And so we got to think twice about our decisions because it have consequences. Condolences to everyone involved. Well wishes to the family. Um, it's a sad case, and we got to do better. We just got to do better as a whole. We have to. You got to think. You got to think twice because there's always consequences for bad decisions. So I say this is a sad day for Cattaraugus County, and all over Cattaraugus County, and Freedom, New York, Cattaraugus County, all that area is grieving. You know, it's terrible, and for what? This was featured on Dr. Phil. Dr. Phil was talking about this story. Uh, no, not Dr. Phil. I take that back. Inside Edition talked about this story. Jordan DeMay, who was a 17-year-old from Marquette, Michigan, took his own life on March 25th of 2022, which was last year, after three Nigerian men pretended to be a female online and coerced DeMay to send a nude photo of himself, according to U.S. Attorney for the Western District of Michigan, Mike Toten. It was a sextortion. And I want to say this because I watch a lot of shows where on YouTube where these people from Nigerian, these scammers from Nigerian scam people, old ladies, old men, young people, teens, scamming, taking money, cars, and then telling people to take their lives, or telling people to do this, or telling people to do that. I want to say this. You may think that only women go through this type of stuff. It's not just women who go through this type of stuff. Men go through it too. And at the end of the day, in my opinion, I believe that the police in the 50 states need to start, and in the country, need to start going after these Nigerian men who are pretending to be women on the internet or these scammers. and put them in jail. Because as long as you have these Nigerian scammers, that's what you're going to have issues in your community. And so it's time to step up and do the right thing. It's time to end these Nigerian scammers. And I think, and the good thing about this is that the good thing about this story is that these three Nigerians who are involved in this were arrested and will be extradited from Nigeria to the United States to face charges for this 17-year-old's homicide case. And I think they should be charged with some type of homicide charge. Because in my opinion, they forced him to take his life. So you are what we call a willing participant. You coerced this person to take his life. And guess who's grieving? Not you. His family. His siblings. I, I believe he's the only sibling, but his parents, his grandparents, people who left him, the school he attended, his friends, devastated behind what y'all did. And y'all should pay. And if you are on the internet and you are being sextortion, or you are being scammed, or you are being taken advantage, you need to call the police. Stop allowing people in Nigeria and in other countries to take advantage of you, because it will never end unless you start doing something about it. Don't never let the bad people win. You should want to win. So report this. Tell someone you know and have them to report this, because it will help you and it will save your life. A lot of people took their lives because of this type of stuff, believe it or not. And I think that it's sad, and people like that don't deserve to breathe another minute of fresh air. They belong in a cage, in a prison. A cage in a prison. And they need to be exposed. And they need to be looked at as evil and demonic. Let's move on. Condolences to the 17-year-old. Among the People article, stop, brother. I'm going to repeat that again. Step brother and parents are charged with child abuse after a 10-year-old who weighed 36 pounds was found alone. The 10-year-old boy was reportedly found wandering barefoot down the street looking for food and asking police to please not make him go back. A 20-year-old was arrested last week in Griffin, Georgia, Griffin, Texas, for allegedly choking his 10-year-old stepbrother a month after his parents were also arrested on child cruelty charges, including starving the young boy. Spalding County jail records reviewed by people show Ethan Washburn, 20, was arrested last Tuesday and is being held without bond on 2 felony counts of aggravated assault. He is the son of Krista and Tyler Schindley, who were arrested last month on charges including attempted murder and first degree cruelty to children. Excuse me. Causing excessive physical and mental pain, according to 11 Live. An arrest warrant for Washburn identified a 10-year-old boy as having autism and that his older brother often punched him in the body, head, and face. The outlet reported that the young boy's parents, who were arrested on May the 12th, had intentionally withheld food from the juvenile for an extended period of time. They were taken into custody after the neighbor found the 10-year-old boy wandering barefoot down the street looking for food after police said he escaped from the house. When officers spoke with the boy, he asked them to please not make him go back, according to 11 Alive. The outlet reports the arrest warrant for the parents saying the couple locked the juvenile child inside his bedroom and left him alone for extended periods of time on multiple occasions, with no access to lights, food, clothing, or adult interaction or assistance. The parents also left the young boy with no hot or warm running water, outside view, toilet paper, electronic communication, human extraction, adult supervision, or access to exit. The Atlanta Journal-Constitution reported that the boy weighed 36 pounds. 36 pounds the day the family neighbor found him walking alone. That's roughly half the size of an average 10-year-old boy, according to the National Center for Health Statistics. It is my true belief that it is my true belief that had he not gotten out of the home, this case would be a very different one. Spalding County District Attorney Marie Broder told reporters last month, according to Fox 5, "As a mother, I can't comprehend it." She said the outlet reports, "As a human being, it breaks your heart. We haven't released any photos of the child for obvious reasons, but I will tell you the photos are absolutely horrible, and anybody with a human heart who looks at them should be shaken to their core." Number one, the child have autism. In the first place, why would you be beating on a defenseless person? What you should have been doing, mother, and father, you should have been protecting your child, not beating and abusing your child. That's number one. And the stepbrother needs to be in prison, serving life right along with his mother and father. All three needs life in prison. To beat on someone and to deprive someone of food and water, which food and water is to keep people alive, and to take matters worse, to lock this child in a bedroom with nothing and leave him there alone throughout the day. You know, this is false imprisonment. Where is that charge at? But along with child abuse, child neglect, child cruelty, child endangerment. Some people do not deserve children. They can't take care of them. So why have them? And a lot of parents decide to have children instead of to have C for the benefits and the money for that child.
Gigi said, open your window
Why?
because it's very strong out here of bleach.
Okay? My window already open. My window already open. But you gotta understand, it's already open. It's already open. But you gotta understand that we gotta do better. We got to. We got to. It's unacceptable what these people did to this child. No one should have to live a life like that. No one should have to be deprived of necessities. No one should have to be treated that way. And the fact that nobody saw this going on who live nearby or next to these people, come on. It's time to be nosy. It's called nosy neighbors. Listen out for warning signs. And because a lot of things happen behind closed doors. And I'm glad somebody saw something and said something and reported this to the police. And those people was arrested and held accountable for their actions. And these people should never be able to have children when they get out of prison. Should not be around any children. These people should be alone. And I hope one day these idiots can look back and think about what they've done. Because you ruined this person's life. That's what you did. It's called trauma. This person will never be the same. Being abused at a young age, it's not a game. It's not a joke. A lot of people are dealing with this. A lot of children are dealing with this. And it's up to people like us to speak up and say something. It's time to say something. Because if you stand by it, you're just as guilty. So stand up and say something. Thank you. Let's pray that this child get the hope that he needs, and these parents and this stepbrother. Let's help when they get to prison. That the same will happen to them, because it sure will. Speaking of ATL, we are back in ATL. Another Atlanta mother and mom's boyfriend are charged with child cruelty charges. Let's talk about it. This happened back on June the 7th, I believe. It was published on the 7th. Clayton County, Georgia is going to take an air. A mother and her boyfriend have been charged with abusing a 6-year-old child who was hospitalized from the severe beatings, according to Clayton County Police. Officials say the little boy is in critical condition, suffering from broken bones, blood clots in his lung, and bleeding on the brain. At one point, they believe he fell unconsciousness. Fox 5 Atlanta was the only crew present as officers took the mother, Porsche Wells, into custody. Clayton County Police said Wells' boyfriend, Napoleon Atis, accused the 6-year-old of stealing money over the weekend. They tell Fox 5 the boyfriend physically abused the child for days as his mother stood by and watched. At a point, police said the boyfriend told the mom to leave the room. By Sunday, police said the boy fell unconsciousness and the mom tried to give him an ice bath. On Monday and Tuesday, police told Fox 5 the mother went to work and got her nails and feet done while her child suffered at home. Eventually, she took him to an area hospital where police were notified. Wells and Ates are now facing child abuse charges. The mom faces additional charges for lying to the police. I want to say this, and this is to all women who are mothers, single mothers. Women, when you are dealing with children, you should never allow any man you are dealing with around your children. A, because they don't have a connection to that child, and B, you do not know what that person is capable of doing to your child. And this mother noticed that this man was evil. She knew this man was dangerous to children. And yet again, she put her child in danger by allowing him to be around her child. So she cared more about this man than her own child. And that tells you that women really don't care about their children like they say they do. Because if you cared about your child, A, you want to put him around your child, and B, you have common sense enough to know this person's interests. You didn't even do a background check. Allow this man around your child. And he was even the biological father. It is dangerous to allow people that you know that your children don't know around them. It is dangerous and it is selfish. And this mother is very selfish. And she should never be allowed to be around that child again when she get out and or allowed to have children again. She's a horrible mother. Because who put their children through that? And allow a man that she barely don't even know around her child. She cared more about her men than her children. And it's sad. And she's going to answer, and so as him, for these charges. And the book needs to be thrown. In Atlanta, they don't play. She's gonna get the max. And he's gonna get the max. Which hopefully, for each count, will be 25 years. Because they need to be behind bars for the rest of their lives. This is aggravated to its core. Like, comment, subscribe. Keep that child in your thoughts and prayers. This story is crazy. This happened May 3rd, 2023. So let's talk about it. Oklahoma is on second air. Yes, it is open. Alright, I'm back. Sorry about that. I'm back. A convicted sex offender fatally shot 6 people in Oklahoma than himself, police said. A convicted sex offender shot 6 people in the head and then himself, an Oklahoma police chief said Wednesday. Akmaliki Police Chief Joe Parentes said the victims all sustained between 1 and 3 wounds to the head. He said that Jesse McFadden, 39, then shot himself. The evidence is that Jesse McFadden murdered 6 people and then killed himself. Beyond that, I don't know what his thought process was. Parentes said, I'm not going to express a theory because I found the evidence. I don't have any evidence about what the motive was. The 6 victims were identified as Ivy Webster, Brittany Brewer, Riley Allen, Tiffany Guest, Michael Mayo, and Holly McFadden. Authorities began a search after Jesse McFadden filed to appear at his long-delayed jury trial on Monday in Muskogee County. The victims included his wife, his son and daughters, and two other teens who were visiting the family over the weekend. Authorities discovered the victims Monday after going out to the McFadden property, which is located near the city of Henrietta, about 90 miles east of Oklahoma City. The bodies of Webster, Brewer, and Allen were found separately about 150 yards from each other. Pennington said in a news conference about a quarter mile from the McFadden residence. Pennington said the other four bodies were discovered together about 450 yards from the other three victims. The weapon used in the shooting was a 9mm handgun purchased by Jesse McFadden's wife Holly in January of 2020, Pennington said. So, because he didn't want to go on trial for his sex offender case, and this happened before his trial for felony soliciting and possessing image of child blank abuse. So he blamed the women for ending his great life. So he was determined not to return to prison. So instead, he killed 6 people and then himself. I would be honest, I blame the justice system because clearly this offender was not given a longer sentence in prison, and the fact that he got out and got what he wanted, which was to kill people, than himself, it tells me that he didn't have no remorse about what he did previously before going to prison. So you gotta watch out for people like that. And you know, 6 families are grieving because of a sex offender who chose to shoot them, which was cowardly. And then himself, because he know that Oklahoma have the death penalty, and he was facing the death penalty if convicted, and so he took the easy way out, which was to take himself out. And I think that there needs to be more talk about, giving offenders longer time in prison, because then they won't have the opportunity to get out and either kill the victims, the victim family, or themselves. They will think about this while sitting in prison. And so we give them opportunity to get out of prison and commit more crime. How is it not? How was it he was able to get out of prison in the first place? He should have been sent into prison to this day. So the system failed. And so a law needs to be put in place where these offenders get X amount of time in prison, so they won't get out, won't go after the victims and the victim's family, and or turn the gun on themselves. He should pay for what he did. So, condolences to the 6 victims, and may the justice system repent and think about their actions. Had he stayed in prison, these people would be still alive. So, you can't blame nobody but the justice system. Florence, South Carolina is going to take an L. 2 women on Thursday which happened way back in April of 2023, April 28th. On Thursday, SLED were charged two women following the death of a 2-year-old in Florence. SLED reported the cause of death was committing child abuse and neglect under circumstances manifesting in extreme indifference to human life. Um, I just don't understand why people kill children and think that they can get plea deals or minimum sentences or no context. Plead no contest can get minimum time. In this case, it seems like this happened in April, so I'm going to assume they're still being on trial. But just people in general who are violent towards children or have a bandana against children shouldn't be around children. And we are failing children. The system is failing our children. That's what the system is doing. Believe it or not, they're failing our children. Because when we are allowing women and men violently to be around children, things like this happen. And it's happening too often and all the time. So, you got to do better. Condolences to the 2-year-old who was murdered. Then give the name, or if it's a male or female, but they did say it was unnamed 2-year-old. So, to the two women, burn in hell. So, this story happened back on May the 30th, 2023, the 29th through the 30th. And it says, two warrants steamed from the Bureau melee on Friday, May the 19th. So, it's back on the 19th. Is when Christopher Wright, 43, suffered brain damage after three teenagers and two adults confronted his 14-year-old son at their Brooklyn Park, Maryland home to continue a schoolyard fight. He was rushed to a hospital and died the next day. This is a father of four, 43 years old, and you have two adults, three teenagers coming to fight a 14-year-old, all over a schoolyard fight. And the sad part, the adults who thought this was okay, who thought this was great and normal to go to someone's house and fight, in the midst of things, this man loses his life the next day. This should be intentional homicide, because this was intentional. It started at a school. It led back to this guy's house. Then you have teenagers and adults fighting or trying to fight this child, but end up assaulting him, stomping on his head, give him brain injuries, killing him the next day. This is why parents shouldn't be friends with their children. And this is why parents need to know when to cross the line and when not to cross the line. Beating up on a 43-year-old man with your child is horrible. Because what example are you really setting for your child in the near future? Oh, when you tell me a male with a person use kill him, what does that solve? You left 4 children out here without a father, and you did that out of spite, out of ignorance, and you should pay with your life. And justice will come, and you will. And I hope that you will see life in prison because this was uncalled for. It was just absurd, ridiculous that you have no common sense. You and that child and them children should have walked away. Not stay there and fight. Walk away. She never came to my house in the first place. Wanted to fight. Crazy. And also said that family. Last story. This one is crazy. This is what I wanted to talk to you about. Talk to you guys about. May 30th, 2023. A Brooklyn mother gets supervised release after the death of her 6-year-old daughter, Jalea Asen. Homicide charge possible. A mother whose 6-year-old daughter was found dead in the Bronx apartment was given supervised release Tuesday as she faced a potential homicide charge. Lanija Asen was waiting to be fitted for an ankle monitor before getting sent back to the home where her young daughter Jalea was found unconscious early Friday in the family's squalid home. Authorities are awaiting autopsy results before determining if homicide charges are warranted in the case. In the meantime, Asen has been hit with child endangerment charges for allegedly neglecting and harming her other 2 children, an 8-year-old boy and a 3-year-old girl. The investigation into the cause and manner of the defendant's 6-year-old child's death continues. Bronx District Attorney Dorso Clark signed a statement. She was given supervised release at arraignment. She will remain in custody until an ankle monitor is installed. Court documents describe an insect-infested apartment that reeked of rotted food, feces, and urine. Cops who responded to the 911 call observed soiled clothing and linen and open containers of food stacked up into piles of covering the floors of the apartment. The young boy had countless small lacerations and various stages of healing on his back, scalp, arms, and legs. According to a criminal complaint, cops also said he had a laceration to his forehead and a deep healing laceration on his scalp. The surviving girl had a long, discolored scar to the right side of her waist and a widespread discolored rash to her inner thighs and buttocks, the complaint stated. I take care of my kids by myself, Asen told cops. According to the complaint, no other adults live in my apartment with me and my kids. Neighbors recalled the family's residence as a house of horrors, with a son constantly screaming at Jalea and her siblings. One neighbor described hearing howls from the apartment before cops found the little girl with bruising and trauma to her chest and neck. Jalea was pronounced dead shortly after 4 a.m. Friday at Lincoln Hospital. Jalea's siblings were in the apartment at the time. They were unharmed, though police spotted bruises and what appeared to be lecture marks from old injuries on both children, cop sources said. Mommy hit me, the boy told police when asked. Although the child said they saw it happen in the past, the Administration for Children's Services responded to the home for allegations involving the oldest child at least twice, according to a police source with knowledge of the case. Number one, you have to ask yourself, this mother is black, by the way, which I'm not surprised. But you have to ask yourself, if you are locked up on suspicion of murder and you're giving probation or jail time or supervised release, if you're a black man charged with the same crime this mother was charged with, do you think this black man will get the same treatment as this black woman? The answer is no. I've seen black brothers get no bond or get bond high as $1 million and sitting in jail awaiting trial. This woman should be sitting in jail on no bond. Yet she had supervised release after being involved in her daughter's murder. Why would you be being released from jail? I don't care if you don't have a dangerous background. You're not a dangerous offender. You killed your child. You should be sitting in jail, like everyone else who killed their child or someone else's child. You should be sitting right next to him in a cell, awaiting trial. You shouldn't be getting a slap on the wrist. You shouldn't be getting to breathe another fresh air. You should be sitting in a jail, in a cell, awaiting trial. And so I'm pretty sure because this is a big story, once you get out, you're gonna have all type of security following her back to her place, probably having them standing outside of her apartment until they get ready to put her back in jail once they find enough evidence and convict her. But in the meantime, in between time, she should be sitting in jail. There's no way she should be ever released back into society after being involved in a homicide of her 6-year-old daughter, and also in an abuse case of her 2 other children. This woman had 3 children, and again, we're having children for benefits because she only had the child for the benefits she could get and receive from the child. This woman should not be allowed to be around her children or any other children. She is a danger to children. And so we want to release her back into the public. How does that work, right? This woman should be sent in jail. And Brooklyn court failed big time. She should be sent in jail. Bottom line, commit the crime, do the time. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. I hope you listen to what I have to say. Take note what I have to say. Comment down below. Like, comment, subscribe, share, hit the cash app. Subscribe to my other 2 channels so you never miss any content. Subscribe to this channel. Subscribe to my Crime Time channel. And subscribe to my new channel, Outlining Our Communities. I'll be posting on them channels soon. So subscribe. Thank you guys so much for watching. Peace.